Greetings, BArcadians, and welcome to another edition of the BA News Show every Friday at 5 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe today and ring that bell for notifications. You're joining Rich and I, your hosts, every week for another. Yeah, it's a pretty big episode because we're going to focus this week on the next gen consoles, of course, releasing today when we film on the. Is it the 12th today, Rich?
It certainly
yes, it
is.
Today when we film on the 12th in America and other territories, and then obviously the rest of the world is getting it next week on the 19th. So, we'll come along to that. Rich and I have received, I think, a few peripherals, haven't we, Rich, to share with you. Not that we can do a great deal with them at this stage. But yeah, so we'll give you a bit of a roundup on the console, the impression that various publications have had, and also the launch games, or at least the ones that we're most interested in. But, Rich, before we get into that, should we talk about what we've mostly been playing this week?
Yeah, so I haven't mostly been playing my PS5 this week because it's not arrived, unlike most of the other countries around the world. I have to wait till next week, and I have a game which I can't play, and a DualSense charging station, which I also can't use because I don't have a DualSense controller. But apart from...
Get your tiny violins out, BArcadians.
Apart from that disaster, to be honest, mostly been playing Pikmin this week. I actually completed it a couple of days ago now and started on some side quest start things on it. Playthrough was 6 hours 50, so felt a little bit shortchanged given the fact I spent 50 quid on a 7-year-old game and it only took me 6 hours 50 to complete it. But I've very much enjoyed it nonetheless, so there we go.
So the message is, Rich, we're not envious at all. You know, we're just happy for, US BArcadians and anybody else in territories where the PS5, Xbox Series X has been released. We're happy to be playing a 7-year-old Wii U game in place of that. And if anything, we're the lucky ones. We get to enjoy this hype and anticipation for a further week.
Oh, lucky.
What a time to be alive.
Oh, dear.
No, same for me anyway. I've been playing a lot of Pikmin as well. I was a little bit later than Rich to the party on this one. I don't know. I really enjoy Pikmin, but it's never been one of these kind of, it doesn't light up my world, if you like some other games do. That being said, though, this has really bitten me. It took me maybe an hour or two to get into it. It's not the most straightforward game. If you're not used to the style of game it is, it's very unique. But once you get into it, it's really quite a chilled experience. It's got some simple mechanics, but they get sophisticated and the puzzles are enjoyable and satisfying. And yeah, it's unlike anything you'll really play, isn't it, Rich? There are comparisons, but
absolutely,
it's quite unique.
I think that one of the reasons why it's not so fun at the start is, and I think I said to you, it's quite stressful when you first start out. Because you're trying to manage all these things, but after a couple of hours of playing or something, you sort of calm down, you sort of know what's going on, you've mastered the control scheme now, and you can just be a little bit more chilled in the way you're playing the days through. So it is interesting. And while we're on that, Tavs, how are you playing? Are you playing with the motion control?
No, I'm not actually. I've just been using the control stick. Now you've mentioned that, I completely forgot that was an option. I have heard it's preferable, at least for some people. What about you?
I was convinced you were going to say motion control, so that's why I was asking. I've been playing with the control stick. I find that fine, especially with the use of the lock-on feature. Seems to work adequately well, but I'm not the biggest...
There are some frustrating moments in it, aren't there? Because essentially you're leading this group of Pikmin and then they have various attributes, and there's been a few occasions where I've practically lost my whole squad just because of one wrong move, and it's like, it can be a bit frustrating. But, for what it is and for how unique it is, I'm really enjoying it. I think at the minute I'm on 8 or 9 out of 10 in terms of a review.
Excellent.
But Rich, shall I move us on? First story today. So this could be a bit of a non-story, but it was interesting. I'm a Pokemon fan. I know Rich is to an extent. So Pokemon Master Collection is the kind of the headline on this one. So we got this from GameByte. The Pokemon Master Collection appeared as a listing on UK video game retailer Game before it was swiftly removed. Sadly, it wasn't removed fast enough for the internet, and the leak was brought to our attention via the Twitter account of Gaming Leaks and Rumours. The Pokemon Master Collection, apparently via this leak, will include Pokemon Red, of course released for the Game Boy in 1998, Pokemon Gold, released for the Game Boy Color in 98, and finally Pokemon Ruby, which released for the Game Boy Advance in 2002. There has been, I should say though, a lot of skepticism around this on Twitter, with many people suggesting it was a faked post entirely, so wasn't perhaps leaked at all by Game. Somebody's just constructed it. But I thought it was worth a mention, Rich, because I'm certainly a massive Pokemon fan. I wasn't really inspired by Sword and Shield. I think it's still in the cellophane wrapper at your house.
Yeah, I haven't had time to play it. Yeah, it is.
And this sounds like an interesting collection. They're certainly, for me, those games, certainly, what have we got? Did we say Pokemon Red and Gold? Some of the best in the collection, best in the series. And if they could add some functionality, online multiplayer, in this apparent leak, it mentioned something about it being compatible with Pokemon Home, which is like is it some sort of cloud storage for Pokemon, I believe. So yeah, interesting. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. If they have put this collection of games together, which are sort of certainly Pokemon Red is highly regarded as some of the best that we've seen from Pokemon, and I think it would sell like hotcakes. I think it would be a very good move, shrewd move, in fact, especially given the fact that, as you said, the latest instalment of the Pokemon has been a bit of a damp squib, so I think it would be a good thing, but we have to take it with this control. My only thing on that is, if this is a faked post, it's got quite a lot of people interested in it. Why have Game not come out and said, this is not us?
I don't know. They may have done, to be honest, mate. All I could see, though, from this article from Game Byte was what I said, essentially. So very much, as Rich says, pinch of salt territory. But I think it could be a really good way to reset, the fan base, the feeling towards Pokemon, because, as you say, Sword and Shield, mixed reaction, and then that might just pave the way for the next instalment, which hopefully they do justice to. But Rich, next subject, please, and we're basically going to launch into our kind of roundup, next gen roundup, which is really going to hopefully serve to all the BArcadians who are either waiting for their console, haven't made the decision yet, or maybe they're thinking about what launch games to buy. This might just give you a bit of an insight into what's out there and how it's being received by various publications.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with the PS5, as Tabs mentioned. Polygon had this to say: the PlayStation 5 has definitely met and has potentially exceeded my hopes and expectations for the next generation. The first taste of higher frame rates and ray tracing have been fantastic, and load speeds are absolutely wonderful. The new UI elements, such as activities and control center, also make everyday tasks easier and open up new opportunities as well. So that's really interesting.
I'll take the baton from you there. So US Gamer had this to say again about the PS5. What you actually gain are 4K and 60 frames per second as clear, consistent benchmarks for many games, drastically reduced load times, and the new haptic features of the DualSense controller. And while Sony and its third-party partners come to grips with the PS5, you're able to play all your favourite PS4 games, some with impressive graphical improvements. This is a great foundation, though, for Sony to repeat the great success the PS4 had this generation.
Absolutely. And Sixth Axis had this to say: the PlayStation 5 makes a phenomenal first impression with the sheer immersion that's possible through the DualSense controller, the compelling Tempest 3D audio engine, and the gorgeous new graphical potential of its games, all of which are more connected than ever. There are quirks and rigidity to some parts of the system software, and it could be a challenge to fit the PS5 into your TV setup. But this is a generational leap that could really make games feel different to play, and I think that's very important. And I would just like to say, the PS5 won't fit in my TV setup.
Custom-made slot for it, eh, Rich?
God knows. But I think that's really interesting. So what a lot have been said, and that seems to be in a lot of publications, is the DualSense controller is fantastic. Like, it's exceptional straight off the bat. Before we've even got a year into people's ideas and what's going on in these games, we've got big games that are coming down the line that you would think are going to take this controller and run with it, such as, you know, the new God of War, the new Horizon, these big games that Sony are making sort of in-house, and they're going to want to really shine on those things. So yeah, I think it's really interesting what people have said, and I think, yeah, I'm excited, really excited.
And what about the games, Rich, for the PS5? Do you want to talk us through some of the the meta?
I would say a mixed bag of games. So games, we've got Godfall 61 on Metacritic, Asteroids Playroom 83, which looks really good actually, doesn't it, Tabs?
Yeah, obviously it's packaged with the console, so you're getting one regardless. A short game by all accounts, but, you know, a showcase for the DualSense. And yeah, I mean, it's lovely to have a nice little platformer to get to grips with a new console. So, you know, I remember Mario 64 back in the day, so it should be a nice experience. And I think it pays homage throughout to, you know, Sony PlayStation history, which will also be a trip down memory lane. But what else?
And as you said, that's sort of been designed specifically to showcase the haptic feedback, hasn't it? It's used throughout that game from what I've seen. Moving on, Spider-Man Miles Morales sits at 85, very impressive. The Pathless is 82. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, not been reviewed on the PS5. This is a PS4 review, but that got 81, which is...
That was a Metacritic as well, mate. I couldn't find the PS5 on Metacritic yet.
It's not on there. 81. I've had a look today, which is interesting. I find it weird that it hasn't been reviewed on the PS5, but anyway. Bugsnax got 73, and Sackboy got a 75. All of those came from Metacritic. The other one that's obviously fairly missing from here is Demon Souls. Again, I've not seen a single review of that to date. They are.
You want me to take this?
They are coming, but go on, Tabs.
Yeah, we did take a snippet from a GameSpot kind of impressions, like review in progress. So this is what was said. There's much more to say about Demon Souls for PS5, but that can wait for the full review. I'm eager to get back to playing it, and that should say a lot. Early signs are good for this game. At this point, we've come to expect Bluepoint to put out top-notch remakes, but this is a game that feels like the studio is flexing its own creative muscles too. And as I venture deeper into Boletaria, sorry if I've got that wrong, I'm excited to see what else it has in store. And then finally, I thought it might be interesting, Rich, just to cover off what PS5 has in store for 2021 as things stand.
Absolutely. So, Tech Radar, new PS5 launch ad. Sony revealed update launch windows for several of its most anticipated games. In the midst of graphically stunning gameplay footage, Sony threw in a tiny footnote that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Gran Turismo 7 and Returnal are expected to launch in the first half of 2021, while Horizon Forbidden West is anticipated to arrive in the second half of 2021. So interesting. I would say I take from that we're not going to see God of War next year.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I put some other pieces together here. Other games that potentially could release in 2021 was Final Fantasy 16, God of War 2 Ragnarok, Kena, forget what the subheading is, but it looks like a good game. Deathloop, Resident Evil 8, Ghostwire Tokyo, Ratchet & Clank we've already mentioned, and we've already mentioned Returnal as well, actually. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds, if all those do end up coming out in 2021, it sounds like a bountiful year for PS5.
I have to say, I don't think we'll see FF16 next year or God of War. I'm very much thinking they're going to be pushed to the following year. But everything else on there, we've seen such a lot of things about them, you know, like we've seen gameplay demos of Deathloop, we've seen a big gameplay montage of Resi 8 in the last week. I think it's highly likely the rest of that list will come out in 2021.
I think so, and I think this is a case, really, Rich, for PS5, at least at this moment in time, being the place to be to play games.
Yes.
Obviously, we're going to cover off now all about the Xbox Series X launch roundup. So draw your own conclusions on that. But for us, I feel like, you know, as a channel, we're behind the PS5 for now. But, you know, let's talk about the Xbox Series X. So shall I kick us off?
Go for it, mate.
So, again, this is about the console itself, Series X. 3 different opinions on it. So, IGN, first of all. We can only assume that the Xbox Series X will wow us with new and spectacular next-gen games eventually, because there isn't much to judge it on right now. But in the meantime, no matter what current games you throw at it, your loading times will be drastically cut, your frame rates will be smoother, and your resolutions will be higher. take us away, Rich, on the next one.
Polygon had this to say: the Xbox Series X isn't the home of Microsoft gaming universe. It's just one of many nodes connecting outward to your phone, your tablet, your computer, or just a different and cheaper Xbox. It's not the place to play video games. It's a place to play video games not only from the future, but also from the present and the past. The Xbox Series X is boring. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Interesting. And then finally, Game Informer. The Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S introduce superb quality of life improvements like quick resume and the reduced load times over Xbox One or even Xbox One X. But don't expect a markedly different or revolutionary leap forward when you first power on the system. If you're simply looking for the best place to play your library of past, present and future Xbox games, look no further than the Xbox Series X or S. So yeah, I mean, quickly, Rich, before we jump into the games, what do you make of that?
Yeah,
in comparison?
It's really interesting. So there was lots of talk about like next gen, like really. I would say overall, it's more positive about the PlayStation 5. And I've heard something very interesting this week, and it says the Xbox Series X is brilliant in its own right, but it's 6 months too early because it's launching with, well, pretty much no real standout next-gen games, is it? And I'm not saying that the PlayStation 5 is launching with that, but when you look at Spider-Man Miles Morales and Demon's Souls, two games that specifically designed for this next gen, I feel like it's got the trump card at the moment. Whether that changes moving forward, it's hard to say. But it seems like
I tend to agree. They don't have the DualSense either, do they? And it sounds like if you really want that next-gen wow factor, the best place to be at the moment is PS5, whereas the Xbox Series S and X, they're almost this kind of incremental upgrade, and there's nothing really to showcase the new platforms right now.
I guess the worry is you've spent £450 or circa that amount of money on something that you then might be a little bit disappointed in because you've not got the depth and breadth of games to play on it to really showcase it as the power horse that it really is. So I guess that's what they're saying when they say it's sort of gone a little bit early, because there's nothing to showcase how powerful it really is. So yeah, we're interested to see how this sort of ebbs and flows over the next 6 months or so.
This is it, and to be fair, Games Pass is not necessarily Microsoft's strategy, because Game Pass is available on other devices and platforms, and that's what they're fussed about. But let's talk a little bit about games. So I believe at least a timed exclusive is Yakuza Like a Dragon for the Xbox Series X. I think it is out on the PS4, but not on the PS5 until 2021. And this currently sits at an 84 on Metacritic, so seems like a decent game all in if you like that sort of game. We've got Watchdogs Legion, so essentially we've put a brief list of games, some of the bigger releases in recent times that you might look to be playing on your Xbox Series S or X. So Watchdogs Legion, currently sitting at a 70 on Metacritic. Dirt 5, 82 on Metacritic.
That's impressive.
Sorry,
that's impressive. I'm impressed that it's got an 82. I need to check that out.
It's a racing game, which is of Ps5 BArcadians. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, released both for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. We've got 87 on Metacritic. Gears 5, so Gears of War, that sits at an 84 on Metacritic. And then I think this is another exclusive, sort of an indie game, I think, for the Xbox Series S and X, The Falconeer, and that's sitting at a 72 on Metacritic. There's also the Tetris Effect Connected, which I've not put down here because I don't think we've got any real, review or impressions yet, but that is, I think, an exclusive as well. So worth pointing out. But Rich, again, why don't you tell us about what we're expecting from Xbox Series X in 2021? What's the game?
Yeah, so I actually think it's got a better looking 2021 than it certainly has in its first, probably maybe even 6 months. So you've got Scorn, Psychonauts 2, Hellblade 2, Halo Infinite, although I really doubt that'll come out in 2021, given everything that's happened. I just can't imagine that's going to be ready. Resi 8, I think that's nailed on, and Bright Memory. So I think there's excitement down the line for the Xbox Series X and S, but right now, don't know.
Yeah, we're going to be waiting as well, at least 2 or 3 years, you'd think, minimum, for their acquisition of Bethesda Softworks to kind of yield some next-gen juicy fruit. I mean, when it does, that could really be a potential game changer in terms of, you might even see Rich or I spring for an Xbox at that point if we can't play it on our laptops. But yeah, I think right now, the place to be for next-gen PS5 for me.
Day one.
Sure, Microsoft Xbox, they've got an interesting proposition, but it doesn't tickle my fancy for now, Rich.
Yeah, I agree with you at the moment. We've actually spoke about whether we should get an Xbox Series X or S, just so we can cover all of the bases on the channel. But at the moment, it feels like it would be an unnecessary purchase because there wouldn't really be anything we would play at the moment. Once there is a library of games that we would go, oh yeah, I would like to play that, and I can't play that on my PC, so I would like to play that. I think at that point, it's a much more viable purchase, I think. So yeah, I think watch out on that one. Watch.
I think there are use cases, aren't there? Like if you've got a big family, you like to dib dab in and out of games. Game Pass could be perfect for that. You've got a library of games at your fingertips. People can just jump in and out of and enjoy the grand variety. And of course, if you've been an Xbox fan for years on end and you want that kind of nostalgic trip via the backwards compatibility, then you've got that option as well. And as we know, at least quite a lot of those games are going to experience a kind of a next-gen boost uplift, if you like, to kind of make those experiences even better than they were previously. So there's use cases, but I think for what we want, from next-gen, not quite at this moment in time. But hopefully that was a decent roundup for you BArcadians. Let us know your thoughts though in the comments. We know there's a grand tapestry of gamers out there with different interests, different circumstances, different loyalties, should we say. So yeah, keep it nice. But we'd love to hear if you're an Xbox fan, you're buying a Series S or X. If you're a PS5 fan, you are excited for anything specific, just generally let us know in the comments. And we always endeavour to write back as well. But Rich, should we finish up with everything else? Absolutely, and I better take the first point because I've just realised I haven't finished the sentence. So Ghost of Tsushima has now sold 5 million units and it is the biggest selling new IP from Sony, so that's really impressive. Congrats Sony, and who make it again, Rich? Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch, well done Sucker Punch. Fall Guys will be getting new levels in the undated Season 3 update. You gave me a little bit of a tongue twist on that one, Rich. What really shocked me this week, actually, Take-Two have decided they are going to buy Codemasters for $994 million. I saw this and thought, why have they... What... The biggest game they currently make is the Formula 1 game, which is used for some of the esports. And I just can't quite fathom why they've bought this, unless they think esports are going to go absolutely off in terms of motor racing esports, are going to go off the charts. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, maybe they somehow see them being aligned. Because Take-Two, is that like... No, it's Take-Two. Take-Two isn't 2K, is it? Are they different entities? Yeah, I think so, yeah. They must see some sort of aligned vision, I suppose, and maybe it's consolidation for the future of consoles. Must be something more, because that's a lot of money to pay, isn't it? Maybe they've got some technology that they're after. Who knows? Possibly. Maybe we'll bring you more on that in future weeks, BArcadians. But what's next? Xbox Game Pass will now include the perk of a 30-day free trial of Disney Plus, just enough time to binge watch The Mandalorian and then cancel it. I like that, Rich. That's in 30-day free trial in January, by the way. Brand new Resident Evil, you've just heard us mention this a few minutes ago. Brand new Resident Evil Village gameplay video, and according to Tabs, it looks absolutely stunning. Yeah, I did like the look of it. Looks like it's going to be quite the harrowing experience. And then finally, PS5 will finally be able to tell gamers how long they've been playing their games for. It's a scary thought, isn't it, Rich, for some of our playtime? From what I've read, it will also tell you how long you've been playing the PS4 games when you transfer everything across as well. So it's worrying that we'll then be able to go, oh, I've played Ghost of Tsushima for 200 hours. Yeah, how much of our lives we've been wasting, especially in this lockdown situation we've all been in. I think I would just bolt on to everything else, Rich. Do go check out, if you're interested in console wars, there's a Digital Foundry video which is pitting the PS5 and Xbox Series X against one another by virtue of Devil May Cry, mentioned it already, 5 Special Edition. It's an interesting video. I don't think there's any conclusions. It's too early to do that, but it's interesting nonetheless. And if you are interested in that sort of analysis, then yeah, I think you'll enjoy that. But anything else from yourself, Rich, you want to add this week? No,
that's it, mate. I would just like to say, anyone that's stuck around till here, we released our Torn video on Monday of this week, and we've got lots of views, lots of comments, lots of likes. We really appreciate everything. That was sort of an 8-month project for us in terms of from the first thoughts that we might do this to the final iterations. And we really appreciate everyone that, gave us a like, gave us a comment saying it was good, or, it really helps, support the channel and just makes it all the more worthwhile us doing this for the channel. So thanks, everyone.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Really do appreciate it. So I think that's about all we've got time for this week. Make sure you smash the like button. Really helps us. Please do drop us a comment. It does actually, we love to hear from you, but it also does help us raise our profile, if you like, on YouTube and defeat the algorithm. Make sure you subscribed and ring that bell for notifications so you can tune in every week, Friday, 5 p.m. for the BA Gaming News Show with me and Rich. And what's left to say, Rich? I think I'll be staring lovingly at these two, the front of Spider-Man and my charging dock for the next 7 days until we can join the next gen party. But I think that's another one for the archives, my friend.
Absolutely. Stamped and completed.